Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Gibbons. I'm the Director for the Healthcare Administration Program here at Mercy College, and welcome to the program. You're obviously working through that new student checklist because this welcome video, was the first item on the checklist. I know that when anybody starts something new, whether it's a new job or a new educational endeavor, there can be some nervousness and apprehension with the next steps. So what I hope to do in this video is to really bring that nervousness, apprehension down as we talk more about the onboarding process to your new program that you'll be going over the next couple of weeks. So by the time we're done, you're going to feel fully confident and 100% prepared to start your new program. Now, I like to divide this presentation in a few different areas. The first one we're going to talk about are some frequently asked questions around hardware requirements. What do I need for the program? Do I need a new laptop? Do I need any other kind of peripherals with my, for my coursework? Well, the first thing, let's talk about laptops. Laptop is critical. You're going to need some laptop, obviously, to do your work in the program. iPads, iPad Pro, any tablet device is not recommended as your primary device. You simply will not be able to do all the things that you need to do, even on an iPad Pro, easily. So, again, having a basic laptop is critical. You can definitely use those mobile devices to supplement access to your course material as you go through the program, but do not rely on it as your primary device. What kind of laptop do you need? Do you need a cutting edge laptop? Can it be PC? Can it be Mac based? Well, Mac or PC doesn't matter. Your digital campus is completely compliant with both. So you got covered there. Does it need to be cutting edge? Absolutely not. You don't need any special graphics cards or anything like that at all. The one thing that you do want to look at is to make sure that your laptop is at least 5 years old or less. We have found that students who have laptops that are a little bit older, let's say 6, 7, 8 years old, can have something called a catastrophic hard drive failure. And this is extremely stressful for students and happens at least once or twice a year and almost always involves an older laptop. What that happens is basically your hard drive completely seizes up and quits working. You can't get that information that you've stored on there off. So it might have been a current term paper that you're working on or some important assignment or presentation, and it's pretty much gone or very, very expensive to retrieve through something called drive forensics. And most students do not have that kind of money to pull a drive out and have a forensic analysis done on the hard drive. So it is a very, very difficult and stressful situation. Having a newer laptop can reduce the probability of that happening. It's not ever completely unavoidable. There's always that probability that some mechanical failure will happen within a computer. But by having a newer laptop can reduce that. So make sure, take a look at your laptop. Is it relatively new? Is it 5 or 6 years old, 7 years old? You're already having some problems with it. It's already acting a little weird and loading strange. You may want to think about getting a new laptop. All right, then, if you do decide to get a new laptop, what do you need to get? As I mentioned earlier, it does not need to be cutting edge. It doesn't even need to be what I would call mid-range. It can be what they call as entry level if you want, or kind of that lower level laptop. Those entry level laptops today that you can often see for 300, 320, right around that price range are fantastic. They're loaded with all the features that you would need for the program. Now, may not have all the features if you're a high-end gamer, but enough for the program to get through that without any issues at all. So you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money on a fancy laptop if you feel that it's necessary. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some more hardware requirements. As you go through the program, you will be required to do presentations like I'm doing here now with you, video presentations. So obviously you must have a camera. Now, check, that's usually covered because most of your laptops, at least in the past 9 years, have all had an incorporated webcam. They've also had an incorporated microphone. Now, this is where we noticed most of the issues, even with top-end laptops today, is the microphone. The mic located within the laptop is usually not sufficient enough for us to hear students clearly in presentations. Usually the noise and fans associated with laptops can be picked up by the microphone and makes their presentations much more distracting. So what we recommend to students is that they purchase a microphone like this. You can get one that goes on your head if you like. I have one of these. I think I got it at Best Buy for $12, a little stick mic. The key with the microphone is really getting any microphone that's going to pull that microphone away from the computer and bring it closer to your mouth so we can hear you a little bit better. Again, if you're spending more than $20 on a microphone, you're probably spending too much. So it's not going to take that much of an investment to make your presentations look top notch. All right, so that covers your laptop, your webcam, which will be covered with because it will already be in your laptop, and the microphone. So those are the essential uh, hardware requirements for the program. The next thing I want to talk about is kind of a blend between hardware and software, and that is backing up your information. As I mentioned, this catastrophic hard drive failure, which happens once or twice a year to a student, again, it's very, very stressful for them because they've usually lost everything. You can reduce the risk of losing the data to almost zero with a couple of very easy methods. So the first one is one of these guys. Get yourself a little flash drive. They're so cheap nowadays that you could put all of your academic life all the way through your PhD on one flash drive. The problem with flash drives is they're small. You can lose them. I can attest to that. I've lost a few. Also, to back up, you must plug it in your laptop and obviously drag the files over periodically. So you have to remember to back up. That's the hardest part, is to remember to back up. And even if you back up onto your flash drive once a week or even once every couple of days, all the information that you've lost or created between those two backup points will be lost. So I usually recommend this as a third form of backup. Your primary form of backup, in my opinion, should be cloud-based. Cloud-based backup services are fantastic, and you've probably heard a lot about them over the past few years. The one that I use is OneDrive, which is incorporated within the Microsoft Office environment. It provides a great way for me to store my data. There's also Google Drive, which is available for free. A lot of students use that as well. What's really nice about those particular cloud-based services is that all the information that you keep in there is accessible on any device, mobile, pads, iPads, Android. Any device you go to, you can go to the cloud and pull your information down. So that's great. Most students just use the cloud drive as their primary drive and keep all of their information up there. So it's always in sync no matter where they go. Imagine, I've been talking about a hard drive failure, but imagine if your laptop was stolen. That can be also a very stressful situation. So this reduces that stressful situation a little bit more, or a little bit less, I should say. That you know that your data is at least up in the cloud. So you've got that nice and safe and tucked away. There's even a third option, which I also employ, called Carbonite. There are other services out there as well, so I'm not saying, particularly use Carbonite. But what's nice about Carbonite is it syncs anything on my laptop automatically to the cloud. I need to do nothing. So even if I don't necessarily use OneDrive or Google Drive, anything that I write or create and save any file whatsoever automatically gets backed up to the cloud service. I don't need to think about it. So I know I've kind of got a ultimate third backup out there as well. So key point there is make sure you back up your data. I hope that you'll never have a major issue as you go through the program, but you always have to anticipate something might happen with your information. You want to have that saved in a nice, safe place for you. All right, so that kind of covers some of the hardware requirements and some of the backup recommendations that I have for you. Let's talk a little bit about software. Students usually ask me, do I need special software for the program? As far as accessing your digital campus, and your digital campus is called Canvas. Canvas is our learning management system. So you might hear these words used, learning management system. All major colleges and universities there's about three major learning management systems out there. Canvas is one of the bigger ones. We really love Canvas. Think of Canvas as, again, your digital campus. It's where you will attend your classes. It's where you'll submit your assignments. Quite frankly, it's where you're going to be living most of the time when you go to school here, is through the Canvas environment. Canvas is completely web-based, so you don't need any special software at all for the Canvas environment. As far as what I would consider standalone software requirements, this school is pretty much what we would call a Microsoft Office school. Now, what does that mean? The instructors here at Mercy College are provided with Microsoft Office. We do not have Pages. Pages is the kind of the Office equivalent of Microsoft Word that is for Macs. So we do not have that. So if a student were to submit an assignment in the Pages format, we would not be able to easily open that or even open it at all. So we do require that all of your assignments, especially the writing ones, if you think most of your work here will be done primarily a written form, such as Microsoft Word, that document is submitted to Microsoft Word. Occasionally, you'll have PowerPoints versus Keynote. Keynote is the Apple product. Again, we can only open those products that are Microsoft Office oriented. So what that means is that you pretty much need Microsoft Office or a surrogate. And I'll talk about that here in just a moment. So let me talk about Microsoft Office. Now for students, Microsoft has a wonderful discount program. So you can Google Microsoft Office. You can University Edition is what I would recommend. And what they do is they provide a discount to students where you can get the complete Microsoft Office suite for 4-year subscription for a very reasonable price. I think it's right around the $65 price point for 4 years. That is a wonderful benefit to have. So Google that. It will direct you to Microsoft Office and you purchase it, or to Microsoft, and you'll be able to purchase it directly from them as a download. There is I believe, a verification process, which at one point they were verifying that you were a student through your .edu email, which you all will have a .edu email address as you work through the checklist. So you'll have that covered. So if Microsoft wants to verify that you're actually a student, they will usually send a confirmation link to your .edu email, and voila, you're verified as an actual student. So check that out. Now, many students already have Microsoft Office. Perhaps it was bundled in with their computer, or they've just always had it. You will, as far as what edition of Microsoft Office, you'll be okay pretty much with any edition that you have, unless you're taking, there's one specific course here that we have at the college, but it's not required for this program. It's a course that specifically teaches the Microsoft Office environment in the most current editions. So, but if you have one of the older editions of Microsoft Office, you'll be perfectly fine throughout the entire program. So no need to rush out, and if you need to buy, the Office 365 edition, which is the one that I'm referring to, no need to run out and buy that. If you have Office 12 or Office, one of the older versions, you'll be just fine there. Now, let's say that you have a Mac and you don't want to go out and buy Office, which they do make for the Mac. You can save your coursework in Microsoft Office format, so by using Pages. So even if you are using some of the Mac provided software, just make sure that when you do save your work, you save it in the Microsoft Office format so your instructors can open it. So again, no need to go buy anything new. Now, let's say you have neither one of those. You do not have the Apple product or the Microsoft product. There are a lot of free versions of Microsoft Office clones available to you that work just fine. Again, do your own due diligence on which one that you would like to use. Many students use Google Documents, which also includes the Google Drive that I talked about, and you're able to create documents within Google. It's a very nice product, and you're able to save those in the Microsoft Office format, and that's free. So there's a free option. There's also another Microsoft Office clone out there called OpenOffice. Does a great job. Doesn't have all the bells and whistles that Office, traditional standalone Office has, but most students do not need those bells and whistles. So there's a lot of options out there for you to meet that requirement without spending any extra money. So please look into those. All right, so that kind of covers that software, that particular software requirement. Any other software requirements? No, there are no other software requirements for this program. Again, the ability to be able to produce a Word document, the ability to typically produce a PowerPoint for a presentation, or occasionally, not all the time, maybe even a spreadsheet, and that would be done through Excel. Again, any of those products I recommend will be able to do all of those for free. So there you go. So that's all you really need for the software requirements for the program. So we've covered the hardware that you're going to need, and the software should be pretty easy to do. 95% of students coming into the program already have that stuff met, and it's already on their laptop, and they're ready to go. All right, so let's talk about some other things. And the thing I'd like to do is to run through the checklist that you are currently working right now because you're watching this video. So make sure you have that checklist in your hands, and we're going to go through some of those items. I'm going to talk a little bit more about each one of them. So if you don't have that checklist, make sure you pause the video and then come back and we'll pick up and go through the checklist. All right, so hopefully you're back now and you have the checklist in hand. Let's take a look at that. We'll just remove my picture here. So let's go up to the first, we'll go up to the first page here, and here we go. Whoops. There we are. So you've got your new student checklist. First thing, obviously, was the introduction video. You've got that covered. The next thing that you'll need to do, and you're going to pretty much run through this checklist in a sequence. So try to follow that sequential pattern as you go through the checklist. The next thing you want to do is to make sure you confirm your attendance by submitting your enrollment deposit. If you haven't done so already, make sure you do that. That will absolutely confirm your seat within the program. That enrollment deposit is $125, and that is applied towards your tuition. So it's not a fee necessarily like a standalone fee. It is used to offset your tuition in the first semester. So rest assured that that money is going to go again right against your own your tuition investment that you're going to have anyway within the first semester of the program. But again, does reserve that spot in the program, and you can easily pay that online with the link provided there. The next thing that you want to do is to establish your Mercy College email. Now, email is going to be essential as you go through the program. It's how the college is going to talk to you. It's how your instructors will talk to you. And having that college email is absolutely critical for that communication process. So make sure that you do establish your college email. All of the instructions are in there for you to do that. If you are buying that Microsoft Office University 365 edition I talked about, that may require a .edu verification, this will be essential as well. The next thing you want to look at after you've established your email is you'll want to establish something called your Empower Me account. Sometimes we just abbreviate that and call it Empower. So if you see me slip up and just call it Empower, the real name of that portal is called Empower Me. And what Empower Me is, it's your online grade and registration format, platform, or if you will, or portal, if you will. And where you'll find there is you'll find your final grades for your courses. You'll see your transcripts, your unofficial transcripts will be in there. It's a very useful portal. And of course, it's how you'll register for your classes every semester. So it is critical. It's not something you're going to be on often, but when you do use it, it's kind of important because you're usually checking your final grades or registering for your courses. So it is something you do want to get established, and you'll need to do that to register for your courses for the coming semester. The next thing that you'll want to do is, as I alluded to, you're going to want to register for your courses. Now, this may be different for everyone depending on when you start the program. We have students starting the program all year long, summer, spring, fall. For individuals that are starting the program in the summer, you will register for both the summer and fall semesters. So remember that. Take note. If you're starting the program in the summer, register for both the summer and fall. That is the only time of the year that you register for 2 semesters at the same time. In your packets, you'll notice that you have a plan of study. You have both a full and part-time plan. So you'll want to take that out, examine them, pick the one that you're most comfortable with. Most students, and my general recommendation is most students start the program on a part-time status. Get acclimated to the program, get acclimated to going back to school. Feel comfortable with the format and the requirements and your life, work, life, family balance. And if you feel that you can ramp it up, if you want to ramp it up to full time, you can. Just make sure you contact your academic advisor and she will develop a new plan. But it's usually my default recommendation is to start part-time, get your toes wet, get that good feel in, get that success under your belt. Then if you want to ramp it up, you can. Most of our students, 80% of our students, do go on a part-time basis. They're very, very busy. They've got full-time jobs, family commitments, personal commitments, and then they're putting school on top of that. So the best thing to do is really had to strike that balance is to go part-time. And trust me, as part-time students, you're going to feel very busy. So don't worry. You're not going to feel like you're not pulling your load, if you will. You're going to be busy with that. But you typically will only focus on one class at a time, which is kind of nice. All right, so you'll have that and you'll register for your classes. If you are going through the registration process and you are prompted for a PIN or personal identification number, that has been included in your packet. Not all students will be prompted for that, but I've included it in your packet just in case you are prompted. That will then allow you to proceed on and to register for your classes. Then after you've completely registered for your classes, make sure you print out that schedule. All of this information on how to do that is located in your packets, but you'll want to print out that schedule and know when your classes begin, that first day of class. The important thing to remember is this: make sure that you check in with your class on the first day. You want to make sure that you print out your syllabus and find out what the course requirements are for that week. We have students who do this every semester. They check in with their class maybe on a Wednesday and realize that there was something due maybe even that Wednesday night, and that puts them in a very stressful situation. So make sure whenever your class starts on day one, pop in there real quick, get your syllabus, look at what's required in your first module, your first week, and then plan out your week and how you're going to attack those due dates. You do usually have some flexibility about when you turn things in, but ultimately you'll have a certain fixed due date that assignments are required. So kind of again, plan out your week so you're not stressed or trying to catch up everything on the weekend for assignments. Again, makes it very stressful for students. All right, so that's that. Again, register for your classes and then make sure you know when they start and the first day of class. Remember too that our classes are kind of an A-B, an 8-week 1 and an 8-week 2. So you're going to have classes starting in the first part of the semester. You'll finish those, and then you'll have your classes starting in the second part of the semester. Again, very critical that you know those start dates. After you've done your registration and you're all set with that, you want to complete your Canvas orientation. Now, Canvas, as I mentioned earlier, is your digital campus, and we want you to be fully comfortable with that digital campus before the first day of class. So we have a Canvas orientation that will guide you all through the basic processes of Canvas. So on the first day of class, you're not worried about technology. You're just worried about the learning and the assignments that you need to do. Again, we want to bring that level of stress down. We don't want to have a situation where maybe a video lecture is not playing for you and then having you work through that in your first week of class. We want to have all of those bumps, if they do happen, have those taken care of before the first week of class. And by going through the Canvas orientation is going to get you pretty prepared for that. And again, if there are any technical difficulties that we have, we can get those ironed out for you before class starts. So go through your Canvas orientation. It should only take maybe a couple of hours in total to complete, so it's not very lengthy at all to do. You can break it up. You don't need to do it in one setting. Most students do it in a couple of, 2 or 3, 4 settings, kind of digest it slowly over a week. That is my recommendation, is to do it over a couple of sessions. The orientation, once you complete it, it's always open to you. So if you want to revisit it down the road, if you're like, oh, how do I do threaded discussions? You can always go back to there and review some of those modules or those videos that are included in your orientation. So know that that resource is available to you forever as you go through here at the college. All right, after you've done your Canvas orientation, the next step I'm recommending is that you order your textbooks. Usually a lot of questions are centered around this area with textbooks. I am fully aware of how expensive textbooks are, and it is a mandate within our program to make sure that we are very conscious of that cost and only having students purchase the essential textbooks that they need. With that in mind, students are also very savvy shoppers in trying to reduce that cost, and I fully applaud you in doing that. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind. So the college has our official online bookstore. That is how you'll be able to go to that online bookstore. Again, all of this information on how to do that is located in your packet. But you'll go to the online bookstore and you'll look up the various classes that you'll be taking. and there it will show you what is the required text for the class. You can purchase it from our online bookstore if you wish, or you can take note of the information there and purchase it from another seller. I caution you to make sure that you are purchasing, if you do decide to purchase outside of the college, that you purchase that textbook from a reputable online seller, such as Amazon, Barnes& Noble, Half.com, one of those. Every year, a student tries to buy a textbook off of eBay, and it usually ends in disaster. They don't get their textbook in time or even get it at all before the course is complete. Uh, Not the best way to go for most students. When you do go and find out the information about your textbook from our online bookstore, make sure that you take note of what's called the ISBN number. The ISBN number. What that is a serial number that specifies that particular edition of the textbook. Let's say you decide to buy the textbook from Amazon. I often buy many of my textbooks from Amazon. You have to make sure that you have the exact same ISBN number. If you purchase the wrong edition, let's say the class is being taught on the 6th edition of the book and you buy the 4th edition of the book, there may be completely missing material, missing aligned pages, you may be missing chapters that are required. It's a disaster, and pretty much the textbook will be worthless for you. Might have got a great deal on it, and that's probably why, is because it's an older edition. So make sure you have the correct edition for the class that you're taking. You can find out all of that information from the college's online bookstore. Now, I do like our online bookstore. They're very good with service with that, but they do tend to be a little on the pricier side. So again, up to you on if you wish to purchase from another source. Another popular trend that I've noticed with students is renting books, and this has proven very effective for them in reducing the cost. Renting has basically has codified what we used to do back in the old days, which was you purchased your book and then you walked back to the bookstore and you stood in line and you resold it back to them at the end of the semester. I remember many years standing in line, many years ago, standing in huge lines to resell my textbooks. Renting has kind of taken that formula, but has formalized it, where you will have the book for a period of time and then you'll automatically ship it back to them. And students are saving a ton of money on that. Students will ask me, but do I need to keep my textbooks? Should I keep my textbooks? For this program, for the healthcare administration program, I recommend that that's not needed. You do not need to keep your textbooks, with one caveat, and I'll tell you in just a moment. Because the landscape of healthcare administration is changing so fast, a textbook that you could keep today as a reference material will be outdated in 3 years. There's no need to keep textbooks. The pace of change cannot keep pace with the textbook production. So no need to keep reference materials in most cases for any of the books that you buy here. The skills that you're going to learn through the program are really going to focus you to look outside of textbooks in many cases to find the most relevant current information. So we really want to strengthen those skills. So when you're out there as a manager, you're going to be able to learn how to access current information to apply within your profession, rather than relying on a textbook that might be 9 or 10 years old. Now, some of the principles in there may be absolutely fine and untouched, but in general, it's not required that you keep any of your books throughout the entire program. Now, there is one class that I teach, where in order to reduce costs for students, we use one relatively thick book, about this thick. We use one book for both classes. So we kind of do the first part in one class and the second part in the other class. Those two classes are offered side by side, one in the first 8 weeks and one in the second 8 weeks, and 95% of students take those together as a 1-2 punch, and they use that book all the way through. Don't worry, there are plenty notices within the bookstore letting you know not to sell that book if you are continuing on with the kind of the part B of that sequence. So keep that in mind. But after you're completed with that part B, which happens to be a finance class, then you're good to sell the book if you wish. So there you go. But in general, no need to keep your books. Renting or any other method that you wish to reduce money is perfectly okay, as long as you have the right edition and you have it before the first day of class. So make sure you do your due diligence on that and have those two covered. Occasionally, issues do come up with students that are outside of their control, where they've done everything they could to make sure that they have their textbook by the first day of class. If you don't have it, make sure you let your instructor know. Many publishers will allow us on a very, 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 very short-term basis to provide some of the chapter readings. We cannot do that forever. There's copyright laws involved, but there's usually enough wiggle room with the publisher that we can provide kind of that stopgap until that book gets in within a few days or a week, so students are not delayed on that. But the key there is to let your instructor know right away that, hey, I've ordered my book, but I haven't gotten it yet. And they're usually more than willing to help you. All right, so we've got that. Okay, so there's textbooks, and we've talked about some ways that you can save some significant money there. Let's talk about tuition or financial aid, tuition reimbursement or financial aid. Most of our students do receive some form of financial aid. If you haven't done so already, please contact financial aid. If you're going through student loan process, usually that's done by the time that you've reached this video, but occasionally a few students have gone all the way through the process and have not done that yet. Please contact financial aid right away. They do great with rushing students through, but obviously when you have many, many students coming through at the last minute, it can be kind of difficult. So if you haven't done so already, contact our financial aid department if you are using financial aid. Let me just pause here one moment and talk a little bit more about financial aid. I do encourage all of our students to do something called the FAFSA. What that is, it's a government form that students fill out that is standardized for all schools and allows us to determine what you might be eligible for. And there's a long list of eligibility of things that students could be eligible for, including federal financial student loans, grants, etc. There have been many incidents where students have filled out the FAFSA thinking, I'm not going to, nothing's going to happen. I make too much money. I'm not going to get anything. Where they've been awarded grant money, free money for various factors that are calculated within the FAFSA. So sometimes for a little bit of work in filling out that FAFSA can yield some nice results for you. And it doesn't mean that if you decide that you do not need financial assistance in any way, you don't have to take it. It just sort of pre-qualifies you for that if you decide that you want to take it. So that's my recommendation there, because we've had some stories where students have received grant money and they thought they would never get that grant money whatsoever. The next thing I want to talk about is tuition reimbursement. If you're lucky enough to work for an employer that offers tuition reimbursement policies, please check with your employer, check with your HR and see what that policy is. There's usually, if you are working for a major hospital system, there is usually some form of tuition reimbursement, which is fantastic. It's part of your benefits package. And a lot of students don't take advantage of it. So take a look at your HR department, see if they do have tuition reimbursement. Most employers have some requirements that you notify them that you're taking a program. They usually want to know what kind of program it is. Is it relevant to the employer? As a person who's most of you are probably working in healthcare, and that's why you're here. And healthcare administration has never been a problem for employers to see the value in that. So I'm not aware of any student who's been denied because they were taking the wrong program. Now, if you're working in healthcare and you're taking a bachelor's degree in French, your employer will probably deny that. But as probably a healthcare professional that you are right now, taking a healthcare administration degree is a natural fit for your employer and usually encouraged. But make sure you check with HR, get whatever paperwork that they need done on their end so you don't jeopardize, if there's any kind of eligibility requirements, you don't jeopardize that by notifying them in a proper fashion. All right, so get that started if you haven't done so already. So with your tuition reimbursement. Next, after this, we're almost done with the checklist. Next is to schedule your academic advising appointment. So many of you probably have talked to your academic advisor already. So if you've already had that appointment, no need to do that. If you haven't talked to your academic advisor yet, and her name is Mary, Make sure that you do that right about at this point in the checklist. It's just a nice way for you to check in with her. If you have any questions about your plan of study, she can answer those questions. And it's a nice way to get to know her. She's going to be a good part, a critical part of your success team here at the college as you go through graduation. Your success team is really your academic advisor, the faculty members that you'll have here, and myself, the program director. And we're all here for you to get you across that finish line and get you to graduation. Uh, Quite honestly, you're going to be working with probably Mary more than you'll be working with myself as you develop your schedules, as you need to change your plan of study as things happen throughout your time here. So you'll probably know Mary pretty well, or any other academic advisor that you could be assigned to in the future. You'll know her pretty well by the time you graduate. But I want to start that relationship, have you just establish that relationship with her early and have a quick check-in with her. So schedule that appointment, only runs 5 to 10 minutes. Again, a good way to get your questions asked or answered if you have any questions about your plan of study. All right, and then lastly, we're going to have you attend, or almost lastly, is to complete the college and program orientations. And we have basically 3 orientation processes that you have here at the college. The first one, if you remember, was Canvas orientation. That's your digital campus that you're going to have. Again, that runs about 2 hours for you to complete. The next thing that you're going to do is on this last item on the checklist is your college orientation. There, and this will be done all online, all self-paced. There, you're going to learn about some of the college services that are available to you for your ongoing success here at the college. So it's very important that you go through that as well. There is some additional training that will be embedded within that process. Again, that shouldn't take too long for you to do. Probably a combined for both of these orientations that I'm going to be talking about 4 hours. So maybe about 90 minutes to 2 hours for the college orientation. And then next, you're going to be doing your program orientation, and that's where you're going to learn about program specifics. And I'm going to guide you through some of those details in that orientation process that's specific to the healthcare administration program. And that will take a couple of hours as well. So again, divide that up. Don't try to do it all in one setting would be my recommendation, though many students do. They'll take half a day out and they'll knock out all of their orientations, the Canvas orientation, the program, and the college orientation all in one setting. Most students do it a lot quicker than the 2 hours apiece that I've recommended here. Again, up to you on how you want to do that. The only thing I would recommend is trying not to do that in the weekend before classes start. You want to have kind of that downtime and just kind of be ready to go before classes start. And to divide these up over the next few weeks is probably the best, my recommendation for the best way to go. All right, and after you've done that, you are completely done. Congratulations, you're done with the onboarding process. You are ready to go. You've got everything set. You have your books ordered. You're just ready for class to start on the first day. So again, work through the checklist. That'll guide you through everything that you need. Now, if you have any problems as you're going through the checklist, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If something's not working or you have a question about some of the processes here, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is located in the folders. You'll notice my business card in there, along with Mary, your academic advisor. Her business card is in there as well. All right. Well, that concludes the welcome video. Again, welcome to the program. It's so exciting to have you here starting this new educational endeavor in healthcare administration. Again, my name is Chris, so if you have any questions throughout this process, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm here for your success and to get you across that finish line, have you complete that degree and get your diploma. All right. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.